Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of the Life Haqq podcast. We have a very special guest, someone who I've known for a very long time, someone who is very, very dear to me. He has taught many, many people across Canada, Sheikh Imaan-based. Welcome to the podcast, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thanks for inviting me in your program and keeping me updated about your all progress you are doing, alhamdulillah, for the service of Islam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We're glad to have you, especially during these very interesting, very unique times that we find ourselves, probably once in a generation type of event. And I want to start right off by referencing a hadith and getting your insight on our current situation. So there's a hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam where he says that you should beware of the dua of the oppressed, and that there is no barrier between that dua and Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And another hadith, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says the supplication of three people are never turned away: a fasting person until they break their fast, a just ruler, and the supplication of the oppressed, which is raised by Allah above the clouds. The gates of heaven are open for it, and the Lord says, by my might I will help you in due time. So the reason why I asked this question, Sheikh, is that, or I referenced this hadith, is that now there's going to be a lot of public policy as a reopening occurs for people to be able to open their business and go out of their homes, more interact with people in society at large. So there's a lot of different public policy that they're talking about, one of which is the mask covering, the face covering. Okay, so they're saying now that either it is highly recommended or it's going to be mandatory in certain instances for people to have the face covering. Now, a lot of people have made this reflection, and I've reflected upon this myself, where, for example, this is one of the recommendations given in Quebec. And Quebec was very, very stringent on, for example, women with niqab not being able to ride buses while wearing niqab or access government facilities while wearing niqab and so forth. And not only I felt this demographic of people were really ostracized and they were really singled out amongst non-Muslim, but even the Muslim community, like muhajjabat, like women who would wear hijab would talk sometimes down upon, or they would really single out the sisters who would wear niqab. Now we find ourselves in a situation where someone won't look at you twice if you have a face covering. Actually, now all the policies are changed to say that you should have face covering. So, Sheikh, what I want to get from you is some insight and perhaps some reflection. Could this be a dua, like a manifestation of dua of somebody who was oppressed, who was bullied from all sides, and she made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now this woman who was walking with niqab has nothing to worry about? Like, no one's going to look at her twice because they're all wearing face covering themselves. What is your insight on this, Sheikh?
Your voice is sometimes cut. Why?
It should be fine. I think we... Did you catch any of what I said?
I got it, but some minimum part of it actually missed, but I understood it.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, you are right that you are referring to hadith, which is actually giving us a very, very special or very, I can say, universal warning for Muslim and non-Muslim. And Mazloom, or the oppressed, is not only Muslim, any person. Anything which we violate its, her or his right, and we do something which is not due to do it. So Rasulullah said, when this hadith, so other part of hadith is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he listened this call coming very quick to heaven, he said, yes, I will respond, but may I give time. I will take this, my decision will come later. So it means, for example, sometimes it seems to us that Mazloom is suffering, nothing is happening, nobody is responding, and a lot of casualties happening, but nothing is coming. But it not means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not watching it or not monitoring it, but the only thing is when the due time is to respond it. And three, four things I will try to explain to cover this idea. The first thing is that this world is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is Lord, He is a creator, He is nourisher, He is providing everything for us. And we are giving two positions in this universe. First thing, to Lord, we're supposed to be abd, obedient. Yani our whole life supposed to be as submitting ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His commandments. The second position is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us as a trustee on this universe. So we're supposed to use it in a better way and proper way, and not to corrupt it, and not to misuse it, and not to hijack others' rights and others' properties and to keep in our pocket. Right? Because the system is supposed to be balancing system. When I give you the ayah which says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when we created this universe, we took 4 days to put provisions. Yeah, arba'at ayyamin sawa'an lis-sa'ilin. We put this provision, it's supposed to be distributed equally to every person. So inequality among that provision, distribution, is one of the worst corruption, which is, for example, causing for the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can say, these kind of a pandemic and things. The second issue is also coming, this thing, that vulgar lifestyle. We have lost our values, right? And the sin is always existing in human life, but the worst part of sin is when person feel proud about it and invite people to it and defend it. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah said in one hadith, Kullu ummati mu'afan illa al-mujahirun. Every person will be forgiven except those who do vulgar thing openly and they feel proud it. The third issue is also, it is related to Muslims. The Muslims have two problems in their own internal lifestyle. One is divisions, right? They are, for example, divided, even under the name of Islam, different religious groups, different sects, and so on. And second thing is that as a Muslim population, where they have some kind of power to implement Islamic rules, they are, for example, opposing it. Not only, I can say, ignoring it, but opposing it. So all these circumstances, I can say you that all these circumstances actually become so explosive that now, for example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows a very, very tiny army of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is invisible. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through this virus. And now what happened? Two things actually proven. One thing is that whatever system you developed, most advanced and most, what you can say, complicated, but it has nothing to for example, counter it and to face it. The second issue is actually the biggest issue, which is you are talking about it, and I come to that point. All systems and ideologies, they are talking about human, right? They say we are serving humanity. We are loving humanity is bigger to everything, right? And human equality, human rights, and human this and this. But you can see that the system is totally using the name, but they are doing their own agenda, right?
Yes.
And human being is nowhere. Human being is nowhere. Powerful people is everywhere, right? And have people, they have everywhere. Have not is nothing. So you can say that this is the time when you are raising the slogan of humanity. It is most, I can say, suffering time for humanity. Why it is happening? Why it is happening? Because we are ignoring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we ignore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so divine right protect human right. So when we defend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right, Allah give us ability to serve humanity.
Yes.
And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposed. So what you are saying, they are now forced to do many things which is they're supposed to do, but they are doing without their own intention, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the example in Quran when they lost hope. The last resort is always Allah, right? They open door
Yes.
for it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking us to do it willingly. So if we do the thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. If they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they become good abd, obedient of Allah, we open the door of every provision for them.
Yes.
So this whole world is suffering, even those who are causing it or those who are not causing it. But there are lessons. There are good lessons to understand it. But I fear that these people will manipulate again, right? And they bring another system, just changing corrupt with corrupt. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually giving us chance, and this is the duty of Muslims to come forward and to present their system, that our system is foolproof. Our system is really serving humanity. And our system is really deserved for solving all problems which are not solved by any system.
So, on that note, Imam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, فَلَن تَجِدَ لَسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لَسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا. That you won't find a change in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals, and no turning off will you see of the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on that note, with this current pandemic that we find ourselves in, do you find because one of the things that we know with the Islamic system is that there is consistency. And what we find also with the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with humanity, as we see from this ayah, that there is a consistency with it. So are there some ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dealing with us now that He has always dealt with society that we can reflect upon further than what you've already mentioned? But more importantly, what is the sunnah to be successful in this situation? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not put us in a situation where He does not give us guidance to come out of it in the more successful way. So are there other sunnah that we can see in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with us that we should make note of? And also, what is the sunnah way to successfully come out of this?
Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave in two ayat in different places of Quran. He says when we give control of universe to human being, right? And when they are slipping from us, so we give them warnings, different warnings, right? One warning is coming by giving some kind of, some hard time, some kind of, for example, losing something, some kind of losses and so on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when they do this thing, we send for them some reminders, warnings. And our purpose is we want to see them back. We want to see them come back, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, those who lose this opportunity, right, and they ignore warnings, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. When they become happy with their own lifestyle and they forgot what they are reminded, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we gave them everything in abundance. We opened every kind of opportunity in dunya. But what happened? حَتَّى إِذَا أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بَغْتَةً. Then we grab them in a second, right? And they are not able, for example, to correct themselves. So actually the sunnatullah means what? Two things. One of is law of nature, right? And we can discover it by our scientific resources, our own findings, our experience of thousand years journey of humanity. This law of nature is available for us. But mostly we ignore another part of law of nature, which is law of morality. Law of morality is an eternal part of rise and fall of human journey, human generations. Mostly we think that any nation, they got rise because they have a good army, they have a good resources, right? They have good leadership, and they got down when they lost these things. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, this is not the reason. The reason is that when they really disconnected with their moral life, right, then the rise and fall issue started. So sunnatullah is actually, mostly if I translate sunnatullah in English, I will say law of nature plus law of morality. Both things, and law of morality is only available by our revealed knowledge given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Anbiya. The prophets are the source to explain to us what is the morality and how we follow it. And our problem is over time that we actually become reluctant to go to guidance of Allah. We think our science is enough for us, right? So we are following half of the gift of Allah, but we are ignoring the best part of gift, which is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in morality.
Yes, yes. So now in every generation, when they encounter this repercussion of this law of morality, as Muslims, I feel, as you mentioned, that we need to show the world that our deen is more than just ritual acts of worship. So for many people, Islam has become just your salawat or your go for Hajj, but it doesn't really engage with the fabric that runs society, the machines, the mechanisms that run society. So now, is this a wake-up call for us to now engage more in that, in those tools or in that system, as you've mentioned, that runs the day-to-day life of society, to show that this is an Islamic approach, because sometimes there is fear-mongering that occurs. I'll put a caveat. There's fear-mongering occurs, especially for Muslims who are minorities living in these countries, that, oh, they're coming here to try to take over. Okay, because there's this segment, the group, they really capitalize, they benefit from this type of fear-mongering. So putting that aside, because in the arena of ideas and what is supposed to be an arena of exchange of ideas to benefit humanity, the Muslims should have a right, and they should have the confidence as well, and they shouldn't be self-conscious of doing this, but to put forth the Islamic proposition for certain problems, the Islamic proposition that we have for solutions. So do you feel that this is a time now for us to be more forthcoming with Islamic solutions? And how should we do that? And what are some examples of those solutions too, that people can really reflect upon? Doesn't matter if they're Muslim, non-Muslim.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the stories of Anbiya, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they want to establish their, how they start with their mission, right? They start with two things. First thing, they say, I am your brother, right? Consider me your brother. I am coming you as a well-wisher. You can understand what means brother means, right? Right? Mean the person you trust him. Right?
Yes.
And
yes.
You can, for example, you can follow him, and he will not cheat you. He will not, for example, grab your things. So it means, first thing to say, their brother Hud said, right? So their first thing. Second thing is what? They say, Inni lakum nasihun amin. I am your well-wisher. And I am very, very trustworthy person. I am not giving anything from my own pocket. I'm just a source of transferring a very good gift given by Allah for you. So what you are saying, this is right. The problem, we actually mix two things and we miss one thing. We miss that our ibadat is a source of our playing our duty as a viceroy of Allah, right? And just like, suppose if you give me training of army, what it means? I supposed to join army, right?
Yes.
Or suppose I am doing training after training, but I'm not joining army. What is the benefit? So when I'm doing salat, I'm doing som, I'm doing everything. So it is just like I'm charging my soul to prepare for a duty.
Yes.
Right? And what we did wrong, we limited our deen only in this ibadat. Right? So when I do ibadah, I do farad, then I do nafil, I do extra. So my individual ibadah increasing, but this kind of candlelight is only, for example, I'm keeping inside, I'm not, using it in the time of darkness. So this is one of the problems. Second problem which happened, that most of the time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he reminded Bani Israel, he said, you have two duties. The first duty, you are chosen people, right? Appointed people, but you have two duties. One thing, you do only worship to me alone. Don't do any worship to other, right? And second thing, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. and behave with people in a better way. Deal with people in a very proper way. What happened? They got propertyship of, they got the ownership of God, and the God become their ownership, right? First thing they missed it. Second thing is they behave with others with inferior level, right? Superior and inferior. So same thing happened with Muslims, right? Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are the best nation, you are appointed as the savior of humanity. Ukhrijat linnas. You are appointed to convey this message, to pass this message to humanity. What we did? We did a property dealership of Islam. My Nabi is mine, right? Quran is not mine, right? And Arabic is my language. And for example, Deen is mine, right? So what happened? We disconnected with the world. This is one thing. Second thing is that the history, of course, we have always different kind of phases of history, right? One time, alhamdulillah, we were very, very, for example, victorious, and we were serving Islam and Muslim and humanity, right? But other time, for example, we become weak. So we lost our leadership for humanity, right? Other power came in front, and we have a different kind of, phases with them, fighting, killing, or whatever. But I can say you, this is the first time in history, Muslims are capable to play the role of da'i. Not for example, warrior, not for example, fighter, not for example, enemy. No. So when you do dawah, you need three things. First thing, you know what are you presenting, right? The material of dawah. Suppose I'm selling some fake thing, it will not work. I supposed to have a good stuff to present people, right? Second thing, my attitude supposed to be as a da'i. I supposed to be well-wisher, right? And I win the trust of people, win the heart of people. Yes, this person is selling something good, and I want to buy from him, right? And the third thing, when I'm dealing with mad'u, or the person who I'm addressing, actually I am not, for example, trying, for example, to grab his belongings for me. Actually, I am giving whatever I have giving, I want to transfer it, right? So these things gone. So what has happened in our world this time, when world is actually going to global, going to universal, right? It is going, for example, world is just like become one village. But the problem is that the bad product, right, it is presented by best seller.
Yes.
Seller is very good, product is very bad. What is the proof of it? Proof is that those people who are actually teasing, those who are, for example, taking everything from the pockets of people, they are well-wisher, right? They succeed to prove that they are well-wisher. We are serving you. We are your servant. Yeah, democracy means you are the power. You elect us. And for example, you do what you want, right? So selling is good, but the product is bad. The Muslim problem is that we are still hanging between me and you, right? We and mine.
Yes.
We supposed to change this kind of understanding, and we supposed to win the heart of people. Otherwise, we have a best product for humanity, best product, right?
Yes.
But only thing is we are not succeeded to present it in a good way. So I can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us the opportunity. 50% chance is coming from Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the door for us. This kind of system, what happened, breakdown of system, proving what? There is a vacuum.
Yes.
Right? Everything is gone. It is felt, right? Now 50% job is demanded by Allah. I have to do it.
Yes.
But if I say, oh Allah, go you and your Lord and fight yourself, so that, of course nothing will happen. And I can say you that opportunity in our time is the best. And this is, I can say you that it is the first time in history that we are really facing humanity, human to human. We have no, just like we are living here in Canada, right? So we are living with people, so we not consider them as enemies, right? We have no barriers. We consider them our, for example, citizens. We are living together. So we supposed to, but only thing which is we are missing in our time is still we are not able to remove these barriers.
Yes.
Right? Why? Maybe, for example, I'm not a approaching. Maybe I'm not, for example, good, for example, communicator. Maybe I'm not, for example, presenting in a good manners. So what we need, but only thing we can do when we understand the right Islam in the right way, right? And we cannot do this thing by some secular voices. We cannot do something, some liberal voices. Only authentic Islam can provide for us the source of winning the heart of people and bringing the message of humanity to them. Just like, suppose, for example, now, for example, you are seeing in our time that, alhamdulillah, now we are getting new generation of Muslims, those who are, for example, understanding the language, the psychology, speaking their language, they're talking the time. So how, for example, they present in Islam, only thing they need, they present right Islam, right?
Yes.
We not need, for example, to modify it for our own need, for example, to alter it or change it, or bringing just like what happened in the old mazahib, they tailored their deen according to the demand of people, right?
Yes.
We should not do it thing, but we have to change our first thing understanding. Allah subhanahu said, you are the wasat ummatan wasata, right? You are balanced nation. How you be balanced nation? I give an example. Suppose if I design a system, I say my democracy is national best, nation best, right? And I will deal with every member of nation equally. So I am wasat, right, in dealing.
Yeah.
But my philosophy is not wasat. Why? Because I'm dealing with nation. So I'm considering other nation my enemies.
Yes.
Right? Allah subhanahu said, when you are ummatan wasata, it means my philosophy is human best, is universal best. So my link with every person is not you are inferior or superior, right? But it is that you are equal in eye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So every rule which given by Islam, it is not saying, oh, this salat is related to Rasulullah, or this kind of, rights related to this person. No, all are equal in that sense, right? So wasati of Islam is start with our thinking. So if we correct our thinking, right, Islamically, our strategy for our practices and our thing will come really in a fruitful way. So we need, for example, many times, what we think, okay, these people are, they cannot come to Islam, right? They are hopeless. This and so. We decide our own. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he say to Rasulullah that Abu Jahl will not bring Iman, he will not be Muslim. But he said to him, go and invite him. Fir'aun, Allah subhanahu knows he will never accept Islam. But he said, Musa, go to talk to him, right? So in that sense, for example, this is really a very, very unique opportunity when Islam has no power behind it, no government supporting us, right? No powerful people supporting us, no big people are supporting it. But if we have a support of Iman, right, we can do what other cannot do.
Yes. So, Imam, I agree with you. We find ourselves in a situation with this pandemic that humanity is somewhat united because we have a common threat. We have a common struggle that we are up against. But even with this common struggle, you find, unfortunately, people who are trying to negatively capitalize with this situation, with this pandemic. And I would say one of which is what's happening in India. They're trying to blame the Muslims, and the Muslims are really suffering in India because instead of saying, hey, we're in this together as humanity, we're struggling with this, they're capitalizing from the situation and they're causing more chaos. So instead of having humanity elevate and see the best of humanity struggling together, there are those forces that are trying to capitalize on this and try to do it for their own interests, obviously with some very ill intentions. So how do we overcome that? With the situation that is happening in India, do you have any comments in regards to that, or the extent of it, and how do we overcome this? Because we see that to a certain degree here in Canada as well with Chinese people, because now there's a lot of hate incidents that are occurring with Chinese people. As a Muslim community, we've been used to this for quite a few years now. Within Canada, but now the Chinese population, or those who even appear to be Chinese, are subject to a lot of this hate speech and some of these hateful acts. So now we have a situation here within Canada But even greater, I would say the biggest, I would say, negative reaction in the world right now is how the Muslims in India are being treated. They're making, no one in the world is blaming any single group like to that extent, like as they are doing in India. Not even, you know, even with the hate speech that they have against Chinese people, for some reason, they've really zeroed in on the Muslims in India. What are your thoughts on that, Sheikh?
Yes, this is actually, I said you that when the pandemic is there, so the hollow system is actually broken now. But my fear is that, especially when we are not able to fill this vacuum, other people will come forward again, and they will bring their product in different color and different way, right? And they manipulate other way. And this is actually their agenda. They do it. I am not going, for example, conspiracy theory or whatever kind of theory, whatever there. But I know that, for example, this is always, we need to understand actually two things. What is the philosophy of kufr? If I say philosophy, it is not philosophy, but you can say what is the nature of kufr? The nature of kufr is denial of truth, right? So suppose, for example, if you are doing something good to me, but I don't want, for example, to thank to you, I will deny. I said, no, he did nothing. You did nothing, right? So the kufr is denial. So whatever ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَمْ مِنْ ayatin, how many times we show them ayat, but they just ignore it. They avoid it, right? So this is the tendency of kufr. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hammering kufr one after one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. They are going to extinguish the fire of Iman, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nur of Allah will bring it. Right? Even they don't like it. So the issue is actually we're not supposed to be, for example, feel hopeless about it. We not lose our hope. Why? Because it is the nature of kufr, right? But what is important for us to understand two things. First thing, we need, for example, to be true believer. If we claiming Islam but we are not showing it in our reflecting in our action, then we are actually really losing it, right? So we supposed to care about ourselves, and when, for example, the time of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala time will come to help us, He will do whatever He can do as He did with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So it will happen. But I think, for example, what is important in our time, that all kind of these things. Another thing which is very important, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He always suppose know who is this person, but He want to expose that person, right? So we have two kind of process in this universe. One is related to believers, right? Believers. It's called tamhees, liyumahisa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sorting out believers. Who is a strong believer, who is a weak believer, and so on. Just like in Ghazwat Uhud, Battle of Uhud, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposed believers. That some people, they were loving dunya, right? They were collecting booties. Others, they were standing with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So it is tamheez. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after Iman, there is test. To prove that you are a true believer, and then we want to grade you. Which kind of, how Abu Bakr Siddiq, he was tested, right? But he was proven that it is Siddiq, right? The second process is coming in ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لِيُمَيِّزَ اللَّهُ الْخَبِيثَ مِنَ الطَّيِّبِ. I will expose everyone, and I will sort out bad item with good item. So now you can imagine what you said about this Indian thing. Now, for example, in 75 years, these people, under the name of Hindu religion, under the name of nationalism, under the name of superiority of Brahman, they were not talking about it, but they were talking the superiority of only one race, right? 75 years, and really they did great job. They opened 1,000 and 1,000 organizations. They have from zero to bottom to top, every kind of organization, schools, philosophies, books, and everything, right? Now they got power, right? And they think that now they are able to use this power to convert this country in a Hindu country, right? But what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exposed them with two ways. First thing, what they were claiming, it was the ancient time, it was a dream, it was a mystery. It has no reality. So they have no any blueprint. What will be the Ram Raj? They call it the Ram time, Ram their Lord, the era of Ram we want to come back. What is the blueprint? If you ask Muslim, what is the blueprint of Islamic system. You can present the Rasul of time. You can present. So our system is reality. Their thing is fact. But so what happened? Allah exposed them. Second thing, what happened when they were using this power, they were using in so corrupt way that even their own people, they are suffering. Those Hindus, thousand and thousand people are now stranded, right? And they don't care about them because they care only one very tiny part, 10% Hindu only. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us in a very strange thing. Rasul Nuh alayhi salam, when he invited people, and he, after you know how many years, 900 years, right? So what he said, oh Allah, I invited them, and I said, if you ask Allah's forgiveness, Allah will open for you the door of heaven, the door of water, everything, right? And what happened? Ittaba'u man lam yazidhu maluhu wa waladuhu illa khasara. They refuse to follow me, but they are following those who are destroying their properties, killing their people, and they are following them. So this is actually the journey of not failure of success only, journey of exposure. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the opportunity to, I can say, many powers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the opportunity to Nasara, Christian, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the Buddhist and everything. And they prove that they are not capable to run equally. They have their own agenda after all, just like Chinese, right? They are doing world power, but still they are so narrow-minded. They are not able to treat with a very minority of Uyghurs in a better way, right?
Yes.
So this is actually exposure, which is happening in our time, and really, there is a lot of things we can learn it. But I think what we need, for example, we need to establish some kind of, I can say, philosophical discussion, some kind of intellectual discussion, some kind of academic discussion, and we bring our ideas among other people, and we let them to realize that this is really only thing can work. Only problem which we have, they say, Islam cannot work in our time, right? It was working that time and so on. We must understand that when you here, I gave you an example. Saudi Arabia is a valuable country. In what meaning? Very valuable country. In what meaning?
Yeah, and money and wealth.
Wealth, right?
Yes.
The island, right?
Yeah.
Isle money is there, right?
Yes.
So what you did? The people of West, those who cannot live 30 degree here, 30 Celsius degree here, they live there 50 degree, right? And did everything to dig the wells, and they discovered. So what happened? They recognized the importance of this money, this wealth, and they discovered it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you have another property in the same Saudi Arabia, another property, and you are ignoring it. What is this? The property of Iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran, جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْكَعْبَةَ الْبَيْتَ الْحَرَامَ قِيَامًا لِلنَّاسِ. You need footing. So we have two footing in this universe. One is money, is a footing you have material life. Another footing is provided by Kaaba. Kaaba is holding whole humanity, right? So if they knew the preciousness of the thing, gift of this gift, I can say you that they discover more than us this Kaaba's policy. And alhamdulillah, many those who join Islam, really sometimes they recognize Islam more than us, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us a warning that if you don't play your role, I can bring other nations, other people to serve my deen. For example, I cannot wait for you. So in that sense, for example, this is I'm saying, it is the barrier. And they think that Islam is their thing. Islam is related to these people. No, Islam is a value, and value always shared. And precious thing always shared by everyone. If you go to Africa, right? African worst kind of thing, and you got there what? Diamond. So you value diamond even in very worst part, right? Yeah. And you cannot say, no, I will not take diamond because it is in so vulnerable area, right?
Yes.
So it means the value and the something which is you consider precious, you always, for example, care about it even in a very, very bad situation.
Yes. Yes. No, that's true. Like you make a very valid point. Like Africa, especially the places where they mine these diamonds are some of the most, they had some of the greatest conflicts and some of the most, brutal, wars that occurred there. And so from this, like now we see there's exposure. We see that, okay, systems are being exposed, people are being exposed, but then there's a concern that, okay, the tyrant is being exposed, but how do we bring justice now? So now things are being exposed, but how do we get to a point of justice? How do we get to a point of harmony? So as we mentioned about, the situation in India, we mentioned the situation in China, for example. And one thing I feel that has been exposed is that previously alliances were made, and they thought these alliances were very, very strong. Okay, so European alliance, Canada, United States, an alliance, all these alliances seem to be very, very strong. Yet when this pandemic occurred, which specifically affected these developed countries, European, North American countries, far greater than even the rest of the world, these alliances started to fall apart. So maybe this is also an exposure of when you make these alliances and these connections based on worldly means, it's not as strong as you think.
Yeah, that is.
But how do we now come out? How do we move now past, like a lot of these things are exposed now. These alliances that you thought once were rock solid, they're not that strong. This person who thought it was your brother living to the south, they were restricting and sending you life-saving masks. These tyrants are being who would say very nice things maybe in speeches are now showing themselves to be very, very brutal. So now how do we go to the next phase now? A lot of this exposure has occurred. How do we go to a better state of harmony within humanity?
Yeah, you're right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he presented the situation of Qiyamah, the day of the resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that time the brother will run away from brother, the father and the right, everyone, for example, will be away. Now it is happening now. We are noticing it, right? The person, they fear that maybe they got positive, they don't want to touch him or her, right? Even, for example, at home, they are, for example, keeping distance. So it is really happening this way, and it is showing that our relation is based on interest only, not the true meaning of a relation. We have some kind of, I need you because actually you are useful for me, right? That is the only thing. So we have some kind of, all kind of pact and agreements. It is based on not any real love, real respect, but real need, right? So sometimes I don't need you, I don't care about you, right?
Yeah.
So actually, this is a very important point from Islamic side. I can say you that in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a very, very strange universal rule, which mostly people, even Muslim, don't know it. We have a two basic rule. First thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he appointed Adam alayhi salam, right, journey of humanity started from him. From the time up to Isa alayhi salam, all Anbiya, they were taking a covenant, an oath. Oath is what? When the last prophet will come, you will follow him. This is one of the very great, for example, thing that Rasul said, every Nabi is under covenant to convey this message to their followers that you follow me, and you, when the last Nabi will come, you will follow him. So it means every person really under oath.
Yes.
And they are Muslim, they accept it or not. Only thing they need to accept it and to declare it, right? Second rule is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said when he took back to Isa alayhi salam in heaven, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ وَرَافِعُكَ إِلَيَّ. O Isa, I'm taking you back, right? And I will keep always those who are following you upper to other nations. All other nations will be under your leadership in world up to day of judgment. No other will take the leadership of this humanity. So those who are following, there are two categories. Either Christian, they are following Isa alayhi salam, maybe in the wrong direction, but they are following, right? They love Isa alayhi salam. They call them Christian, right? And Muslims. Those who follow in the right way, they consider them as Isa alayhi salam as a abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a prophet, as a very noble person, and so on, right? And we believe that he will come back again. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَطَهْرِكْ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. I will keep those who are following you up to those who are denying you. And you know who are denying Isa alayhi salam, right? Those who have not accepted him as a Messiah, right?
Yes.
And they are waiting their Messiah. And they are preparing this world order to prepare the position for this Antichrist to bring him as a world leader. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is against Allah's decision. It will never happen. So what happened? I see in another way. They are actually playing everything to make this world under one leadership, under one system. They are even talking about the chips. They want to robotic human being, right? They must be governed by one kind of order, right? They don't want to see, for example, this currency or this kind of paper money and everything, right? They are doing everything, and they are now removing all kind of barriers, nationalism and kind of these things gone, right? And all kind of these things gone, pact are gone. But you know what? When they prepared all these things, only capable to run this universal order is Islam.
Yes.
Right? And suppose, for example, you are preparing it first said in Bible, it is a cornerstone of ark.
Yes.
Rasul is a cornerstone of ark, right? So if you build a ark, right, who will fill the ark stone, cornerstone? Only Rasulullah. So it means, for example, and this is actually needed to present it in a little bit, I can say you in modern language.
Yes.
In modern way, for example. And it's just like, suppose, for example, when Karl Marx presented communism in a very, for example, attractive way, right?
Yes.
So we need, for example, Islam also to be presented in this way. But only condition, as I said, we not alter anything. We just giving the whatever material we have as it is, but we present it in a way that people understand it.
Yes.
And I can say that the time is really approaching that people are ready to either accept it or they must be refused clearly. Itmam al-Hujjah is called, I will not do till I prove my point, so nobody can argue with me.
So Imam, like you mentioned, the signs of the Day of Judgment, and there's a lot of rhetoric going around and interpreting this current situation as part of the signs of the Day of Judgment. You know, some people, and I've seen this for years. You know, people will take different symbols, they'll take different people, they'll take different events, and they'll try to interpret it as signs of the Day of Judgment. So, you know, even one person said, oh, you know, the US dollar, it has one eye on it. Well, this is Dajjal. You know what I mean? So there's been so many different people who have been blamed of being Yajuj Majuj. You know, oh, these people are Yajuj Majuj. So, and then now they're even saying this virus is Yajuj Majuj, or this is Dajjal. So are there some signs that we can say without going, maybe making a definitive judgment that this is this particular sign, but are there some general signs that we can see from the Day of Judgment that are occurring through this pandemic?
Alhamdulillah, it is one of the best blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave us everything with a real knowledge and very true light on it, right? So we are not living in darkness or ignorance. We have both things together. But the problem is we have two things. Rasulullah informed us how many the signs are there, minor signs or major signs, right? And many signs are actually already happened. First sign was Rasulullah himself. Rasulullah said, I am created this way with Qiyamah, right? So it means, for example, the coming of Rasulullah means the coming of Qiyamah. How many thousand years, how many hundred years now it is still there, right? So it means, for example, the sign of that what will happen in the last days. We are seeing many things are happening, but we have two problems. First thing, we want to fix dates. As for example, Christian they do. They say time Wednesday will be the disaster day, and this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep that thing in the ghaib. It is unseen, right? And He never explained. Even Rasulullah never knew about it. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself, he was not sure that the person who was living in his time, he's Dajjal or not Dajjal, because he was not given ilm of it. He was not given ilm, right? So in that sense, for example, our curiosity is always make us to, for example, to fix the date, right? And this is wrong. We're not supposed to do it because we are giving alamat without determining when it will happen. We can say, yani, even if you read the books, suppose, for example, historian, those who wrote in the time of just like Ibn Kathir in the 600 year Hijrah, he was saying that it happened just like Qiyamah is very close. Now it is 800 happened now, right? So in that sense, for example, it is wrong to do it, and we are not giving this ilm, and we are not supposed to seek it. Most important thing which is we are missing, that what sign of Qiyamah means, really, what is the message of it?
Yes.
I give you a very, very, very simple example. If you are driving and you see a notice, beware, after 1,000 meters, there is a ditch. What it means for you? A sign means for you what? The signs mean prepare from now.
Prepare, yes.
Right? Slow your speed, right? And be careful, right?
Yeah.
It is the message. But if I say I'm reading the message, 1,000, 500, 300, and I'm at same speed, what will happen to me? When this will come, I will not be able to control, right? So the real message is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave us this sign to make us safe from these things, right? Yeah. I always make a fun, I say sometimes a joke. I say people are waiting for Imam Mahdi, right?
Yes.
No, Islam is not waiting for Imam Mahdi. Islam is waiting for me. What I do for Islam, it is important.
Yes.
Right? And suppose in Islam, Jama'ah, praying Salat with Jama'ah is important or not? It is important, right?
Yes.
But pray behind a specific Imam is important? Or can we do any behind any person? We can do it, right?
Yeah.
So if you say if Imam Mahdi will come, then we will be good people.
Yes.
Right? We are doing wrong thing. And again, I say you what? If Imam Mahdi came now and I'm not prepared to join him, I will not join him.
That's true.
Right?
The preparation is more important than the product.
So my duty is when something happen or not happen, it's not my issue. Issue is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran, وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Don't die till you be believer. Can you determine when you will die?
No.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't die. What does it mean? It means hold your iman till the moment of death. No, it's not saying this thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, keep your iman intact every moment, even it is the moment of death. Right?
Yes.
So this is actually a sign up there, but it is always misinterpreted. And I can give you one very, I think, a rule of it. The word in Arabic or any language, if I say water, what it means? Water. You know, it's liquid, right?
Yeah.
So we call it, word is used for haqiqat. Haqiqat means what is the true application of word we will use for it. And it opposite to it, majaz. Majaz means, and it was like, for example, you say, oh, water means something which is, for example, like someone says, just like something which is not, for example, stable, right?
Okay.
So when the Surah said the Dajjal will come, so haqiqat of Dajjal means a human being will come.
Okay.
We translate it in a system, right?
Yes.
So it means we are moving from the haqiqat of word, some kind of, for example, majaz or something which is secondary meaning. I give an example. Suppose if I say, I went in zoo and I saw a lion. What it means? Is it haqiqat or majaz? You saw the real lion, right?
Yes.
But if I say very brave man, he is a lion. What it means
majaz.
Now?
Yes.
It is majaz.
Yeah.
So first application always will be for haqiqah, truth. So all signs which are given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will always be just like Isa alayhi salam. If I say Isa is a symbolic thing.
Yes.
No, he is a real, right? Rasul said the time will come when the river of Farad, the Iraqi two rivers, they will dry and there will be mines of gold, right? And people will kill each other. 99 people will kill each other. Only one will grab the gold. And Rasul said, "Don't go there if you get it." Now people say, "No, no, it is black gold." No, it is not black gold. It is the
Yes.
real gold. So in that sense, for example, we must understand that all signs are given by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but we must not hurry to apply it this way. And actual message is we supposed to be prepared to save our iman in any circumstances, right?
Yes.
It will save us.
Yes.
Okay.
Imam, I think that clarifies that quite a bit. I just want to also, for a lot of people who make this mistake, I want to clarify the methodology when we look on worldly affairs or we look on these types of muamalat. A lot of times what I see is that, okay, there's two approaches. One approach is you look at the Quran and the Sunnah, and then you look at your you find something in the Quran and the Sunnah, and you then try to forcefully apply it to your current situation. This is what this current situation needs to be interpreted as. The other methodology is you look at your worldly situation, and then you look at which of the Quran and the Sunnah does this fit into. You know what I mean? So what is the better approach to do that? What's the better methodology? Because I see people make a lot of mistakes in terms of looking at worldly affairs or being able to consolidate the Quran and the Sunnah, the guidance, the hidayah, with the worldly situation that they find in themselves in. What is the better approach? Like how do you approach this? Like, do you look at, okay, I'm reading this, and then now I said, oh, this means that what's happening now is this, or do I look at what's happening now and then I look at the Quran and the Sunnah for hidayah?
Yes, of course. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran, Hudan lil muttaqeen. This book will open the heart of people, those who are capable to receive this message under piety, right? And Quran said, Yudillu bi kasiran wa yahdi bi kasira. This book guide many people and misguide also many people. How it happened? It happened with two reasons. First is, I already occupied with something in my mind, and I'm just digging Quran to prove my point is right. Right?
Yes.
So this is always will be misguided person. He will never reach. If I am empty-minded and I'm really trying to get what is the message of, and then I'm going to accept it, then Quran will open my heart to give me more, for example, journey of hidayah. Right?
When you come at it unbiased.
Unbiased, right?
Yes.
And second thing is, actually, this is very important, that Quran always said that we have a two component of Quran. One is muhkam, right? It is explicitly given in wording and meaning, right? So follow muhkam. But mostly people of these people, they go mutashabihat, which are confusing in meaning. But like, suppose people are going to digging, what is the reality of taqdeer, destiny, right? And they are not able to get it, right? So in that sense, for example, if we are focusing our journey of discovering Quran, as Quran is talking to me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran, وَفِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. If you open the Quran, you will see your journey of, of success, right? So you are actually said whatever you want, you don't want. So I can say you that I always quote one of the great scholar of Hadith, Zuhri, Imam Zuhri. He was the Ustad, Sheikh of Imam Bukhari, right? And Umar ibn Aziz asked him to collect a hadith in his time. He said, in a 3 sentence, the real definition of Islam. 3 things. First thing, what Islam means, given what is given by Allah. Who is the source of Islam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second part of Islam, communicated to us by Rasul. At-Tabligh. What is the position of Rasul? To create Islam? No. To pass it. To take it and to, right? And the third part of Islam is very important. It is related to us. To follow it as it is. Right?
Yes.
We reverted it. Now we design Islam. We took the position of Allah. Right? And the whole situation has gone. Right? Yes, I need to confirm that this hadith is right or not right. This Quran meaning is right or not right. It is okay. But when it is right, if I say no, you are right. You say the Quran says about this issue, but it cannot be applied in our time. So then you can't, right?
Yes.
And second thing is also, Quran says, don't be denial of some part of Quran and believer of some part of Quran. أَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Right? You believe, just like a Jew, Bani Israel, Allah said to them, you pick some part of your book and ignore other part. So if we go with whole Quran together, then we can take the real guidance. In our time, and always I can say you that if you study the history of those who misguided by Quran, we have many sects in our history, right? How it happened. They took the dalil from Quran, but what they did, they took one ayah of Quran, right, and they ignored 1,000 ayat of Quran. So if you don't take Quran as a whole, right, it will not guide you.
Yeah, you need the full. Yes, I think that's a very important point.
Yes.
Because some people, they feel they'll get the hidayah just from portions.
Yes. Yani, I give you, it is not good thing, but I want to say that in our time, when we are living in a kind of equality of gender, a country of this, right? So sometimes it happens, even the Muslim, suppose I can say ladies, they feel that Islam is not behaving with us in a equal as a man, right? So it means, for example, when Allah SWT giving a woman a 3-time respect from her son, it is good for me. But as someone said, no, inheritance you get little best. No, it's not good, right? So it means, for example, I am picking and choosing.
Yes.
So I have to take the whole package,
yeah,
right? And when I take this thing, Allah promised for me that He will not do injustice with me.
Yes. Yes.
Allah said, وَلَا تَتَمَنَّوْا مَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ بَعْدَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. Don't dream for something which is you are not getting, right? Another may be getting, because if you ask Allah, He will give you. So it is actually the moment when we are living under, equality of gender, humanity, we must understand that it's supposed to come under the guidance of Allah.
I think that's a very key point, is that you feel you're unequal when your source of guidance is human thought and ideology.
Yes.
If that is, then you're going to see how the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala measures up to it.
Yes.
But if that is your source, because I've had Muslims who say, how is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just? And then they'll ask a question, whatever ruling in Islam. How is Allah just if this is allowed? The problem is, Imam, is that if you believe in Allah in the first place, then you need to believe that Allah is the most knowledgeable and He is the most just. It's like, for example, Imam, if like your child, he says, okay, I want this chocolate bar for dinner, and you say, no, I'm not going to give you this chocolate. That child is crying, he's complaining about you, you're not just to me. You're saying, I'm older, I'm more knowledgeable, I know more than you, and if another person looks at the scenario, is that parent being oppressive to that child? No, that parent is being merciful to that child. The parent is based on the greater knowledge that this parent is having, is protecting that child, right? So we would accept that. But if you believe in Allah, the default needs to be the approach, Allah is just, Allah knows more than me, so there is a wisdom I don't know about. There's a difference if we were to say, what is the wisdom maybe behind this ruling? There's an etiquette, there's an adab behind that. There's a level of understanding. But then when you say, oh, this isn't fair because of this, or I need to change this because of that standard, then you're always in perpetual chaos, I believe, Imam. I think there's a big internal struggle for Muslims.
Of course. Because we need, for example, to understand one thing, Haqq cannot accommodate everyone. We have to accommodate for Haqq. Yani al-Haqq wa haqqan yuttaba. Ali radhiyallahu anhu said, the Haqq is deserved to be followed, right? So if we accept that it is Haqq, so I not ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to design Haqq for me, right? One thing. Second thing is that I give you, just like what you give the chocolate example, I give another example. Suppose if you give $100 to your daughter, and then what happened? What she will do with this $100? She will say to you, oh, Dad, keep it for me. Yes? Why she said this thing? Why
She has trust. Yeah, she has
she
trust.
has a trust.
Yes.
So suppose if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks me something, give me this thing.
Yeah.
So what I will do if I trust him or not trust him?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran about munafiqun, hypocrites. Do you think that Allah and His Messenger will do injustice with you? Right? This is the great example to understand that if I trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I believe in Him in everything. If he is asking something which I don't like it. Right? If I accept this thing, I can say you, this world will be heaven for us before the real heaven. Otherwise, our own mind will, for example, suffer. So I think I will stop here because I have another program now after a few minutes.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time that you spent with us, Imam. I think you've mentioned some great things that we can benefit from. And prior to even us starting, we were saying that, subhanAllah, one of the things that we found during this pandemic, there's a lot of blessings. Like there seems to be more unity amongst the community. Like there's less ikhtilaf, like in terms of, like, for example, the first day of Ramadan and Eid and things like that. There's less dissension,
You know, I can say you one thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a message that if, inshallah, it will be over. When it will over, what we need to do it? We have to revisit our own 24 hours planning. Right? Yeah. How much time we were giving to dunya, how much time we were giving to deen, how much time we were, for example, how much we earning and how we are spending. I give an example. And I gave this example too many places. Just like, you know what? I actually went, for example, to perform nikah for example, nikah, right? And they were planning for a big party, right? But what happened?
Yes.
They were not having.
Yeah.
Marriage happened or not happened?
It still happened.
It still happened. So what is the message?
There was still, we have social distancing, but now we don't have to have emotional distancing, right?
So what is the message now? Yes, yeah. You're right. So what is the message? Message is make marriage simple.
Make marriage simple. Yeah.
Right? And it will create more love than, for example, all kind of these things. Right? Yeah. So in this way, I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a lot of messages. If we really want, for example, to learn from it, and we can, inshallah, benefit from it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't want to, for example, tease us. He said, Ma yafarullahu bi'azabikum in shakartum wa amantum. What I will gain by punishing you if you are being thankful and you are believing to me.
Yes. Right? Yeah. MashaAllah. Okay, Jazakallah khair, Imam. We'd like to thank all our viewers for tuning in. Inshallah, we will continue on our next episode of the podcast Thursday night. Remember, we want to live by the Haqq, die by the Haqq. Just when you think life is stuck, tune in to Life Haqq. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Police are providing enough protection, or do I have to have protection of my own? I look for protection from Allah.